For generations, Saskatchewan's prison doors have been closing on Aboriginal people. Government study after government study points to little progress in the incarceration rate of Aboriginal people in Saskatchewan. Far too many Aboriginal people end up in jail. In a world that demands better education and self-respect as a means to success, being on the inside is not the answer.
A lot of guys in there that have done so much time. Some guys get out for a week, in there again, doing another deuce less. Who knows what, you know?
Aboriginal people are looking for change. Changes that will impact on a system that has not served them well in the past.
That's who they are. That's their lifestyle now. They're important when they're in there, man. You know, there's somebody in there, and they get out on the street, they got nothing. Who the heck are they? Nobody. It's all about us. What's in here, I keep telling people, it's not about anything else outside of us. It's us, that we're the ones that are gonna change it. And me, I didn't want to get caught up in that. I did my time. I did about 3 years, and I seen some ugly stuff in there, and I thought, no, this ain't right, you know. And I thought, man, if I'm gonna change, it's not gonna be because of the system, because then I'd be just giving my power to them, and then I'm not doing nothing for me. I changed because of me. I changed because I didn't want to wake up in the morning and get off that cot and look out and all I see is bars. No. I like getting up where I am right now, looking out the window and there's trees and fields and stuff like that, you know. That's a lot better.
The reality is that it is not always that easy to make individual choices. And Willie Littlechild knows that. He is the chairman of the Commission on First Nations and Métis Peoples and Justice Reform. And he knows that if there is to be any change for the better, the system has to change.
When we had our stakeholders meeting, we asked the people who are frontline workers in the justice system from many different elements, from the policing, from the institutions, the health workers, the teachers, the social workers, and so on. They advised us to have a special focus on the north because of its geographic location initially, but that there's a unique circumstance in the north, they told us, that we have to look at the north. There's a different, perhaps a different solution base in the north that may not apply in the cities.
You all know that we have a lot of alcohol problems, especially on the reserve, and drugs also. We have a lot of social problems. Another thing is the traditional ways too. You know, like the sweats and stuff like that, you know. The people, young people that get involved there seems to be, you know, not taking as much alcohol and drugs as they used to. And these things help a lot, you know.
We as First Nations have not owned our authority for a long time because our authority has been stripped from us for so long, and as a result we've become dependent and helpless. And we need a system where our health needs to be given back to us, and we need that authority. We need to take it back because it's ours.
There's a lot of garbage that comes to the court. A lot of behavior is criminalized. People are charged when they should be diverted from the court system.
It's because we've lived under a state of learned helplessness for so long through the government systems that have not recognized us as First Nations people with authority. And we need to go back as First Nations people and assume that authority and that responsibility because it's ours. And then from there we can, I believe, heal.
A lot of that healing that has to occur has to begin individually as well. For those people who have been hurt by the system, families that have been hurt by the system, communities that have been hurt by the system. On one hand, we can't cover up the past and try and deal with the future. Because as one of the elders said, you have to know where you came from yesterday to know where you are today, if you're going to know where you're going tomorrow.
The journey to a healthier justice system in northern Saskatchewan means listening to its many communities and learning from the experiences of the people who live in the north.
Ku Healing Lodge nuni thene la no ni sinit aha la te cuidat sa la bitirai di hada de Healing Lodge ad no yat here aha yurde Dene har beni a da beni skinit insi Dene har yanga so di ha la samba hong yesi ne zu hade do dis ni hada de hadu commissioner aratnu no tsu ni Don't sequid plant plant elasi different ages. No guide suicides head daddy.
Police relations with local people are often not pleasant, and this has a lot to do with the attitude of the officers that are coming into the community. They walk around in schools, offices, restaurants, bulletproof vest with a pistol. You know, what's the message?
We do have a very lack of resources to help our own people help themselves. We have to bring people in to help them, or we have to take them out to get help. And it doesn't always work. Why uproot our own people, our own youth, to seek help in counseling when it should be done in their own community where they're comfortable in their own environment? Instead, we're still taking them out and saying, no, the only way you're going to get adequate help is to take you out to PA or a Lloyd minister, and they're stuck there for 3-4 days at a time. And it costs them money, and it causes them the hardship of trying to find sitters for the kids that are at home, or somebody to look after the house while they're gone, or transportation, because they don't have transportation. A lot of them don't.
We want to have justice in this province, Saskatchewan. Everybody has to be treated equally, not different. One justice system for Aboriginals and one justice system for the rest of the system, the province of Saskatchewan. Coming with that, I have some major concerns from my own community about the way some of the police officers are treating some of our young people. The busiest place in the community of Isle Across is at the courthouse on court day. And you have to ask yourself as a leader of that community, why is that happening?
More often than not, some of us keep getting charged, get used to the system, and it doesn't intimidate us anymore. We get familiar with the court system and it's not a big deal anymore. Meanwhile, our problems are still there. We don't know how to deal with them. After we made our court appearance, we were placed on the probation and required to report to probation officer on a regular basis. This is setting us up for a failure because 1, the probation officer works out in Buffalo Narrows and it's not easy to get a hold of him when we need to talk to him. 2, when we report to him, all he does is put a check mark beside our name to indicate that we made contact. That's it.
That's not the way you deal with issues in the north. You know, it's a family. Unity is valuable in the north. Cultural sensitivity is valued in the north. We got a lot of values. And our youth that go to the south, they lose that support, and that's why they're winding up in these jail systems and reform centers and all these detention centers. If it was in the north, he'd still have that community support. I think there would have been more youth in jail today
If it wasn't for community leaders that sit around the table today here,
Along with the Justice Reform Commission, Northern Saskatchewan now has a Cree Court. It is a step towards a more accessible justice system.
And I think it's good for the people around here because after they enter their plea, the judge asks them what they have to say for themselves, and most of the time they just say nothing. So they have an advantage of the Cree Court here because the judge speaks Cree, and when the judge asks them what they have to say for themselves, they can just speak in their own language and feel comfortable with it.
Cree courts are important because it breaks down the language barrier. They're asked if they want to deal with that particular matter in the English or the Cree language. And whichever language they choose is what is then followed.
I think someone it no to rasman na tege dasi mutek. Roman tege pigas kustama so wisk. Nes kay neither with me now with the sotama usa.
We've had 6 sessions in Cree over this past month, and it's really been enlightening for me. For me, my language speaks volumes of who I am. I'm able to explain myself, I'm able to express myself, and I know the people in front of me are also able to do that. I can gather more information from them in a short period that I ask them questions, if I have to sentence them. And I've told them fairly clearly too that I need to know this. I need to know who you are. I said, I don't necessarily know you. I need to understand where you're coming from. So it's very important for them. So the communication becomes fairly easy.
Since Cree Court's come in, I've seen a bit of a difference in people being able to understand. They can see what's going on in court, and Judge Morin is being able to help the people, I think, a lot more by being able to speak Cree. I can't speak Cree, unfortunately, but with him being able to explain things, people walk out of court with an understanding. So I think that helps. If somebody doesn't understand, especially when they're on a condition, if they don't understand what's required of them, we're just setting them up for failure.
Cree Court is one mechanism whereby we took challenges in our court system, problems of how people regarded our court system, and tried to be more responsive, to have a court which was more culturally sensitive, a court in the language of the people who were coming before it, and with a judge who firmly understood the communities from a social, from a community, and from a cultural point of view. And from within the system itself, we have a different way of adjudicating decisions. Judge Morin is changing the way the court operates, changing the way it relates to people before him and the community at large.
Saskatchewan poma Cree Court so that's feel lucky for that. People will feel more secure with a Cree judge.
Changes such as the introduction of the Cree courts can have a great effect on individuals and can create healthier relations in the hope of a better future, one that doesn't see jails as a foregone conclusion. The Northern Justice Symposium is another example of communities coming together to discuss and plan the future of their communities.
The New North is running its first annual Justice Symposium here at Marlborough Inn in PA. We have 250 registered participants over a 3-day conference, and we have a lot of involvement from Sask Justice, the RCMP, who are also partnerships with New North and the MOU for community policing in northern Saskatchewan. Well, from the symposium, this is a symposium to wrap up the pilot project for justice throughout 35 communities in the north, and from this we hope to carry on to individual communities.
An organization called Northwest Municipalities Association, which consisted of all the mayors of northwestern Saskatchewan. And we acted as a lobby group, and we found that together as a unit we had more strength. Initiated a meeting with the rest of the mayors of northern Saskatchewan, and we explained to them that if we got together that we could be a stronger unit of municipal elected officials and get government's attention in terms of what we needed in northern Saskatchewan. We deal with many issues, education, justice, social programming. Justice issues are pretty relevant in our communities and an everyday concern. And as community leaders, we see the problems that are in our communities on a daily basis.
What do we do in crime prevention often? I did it for many, many years. I thought about crime prevention. The first people I thought about that should be doing crime prevention, I said, were the police. Well, the police should do that. But really, if you think about it, and if we're talking about community empowerment and community ownership, we have to go back to our moms and our dads, our brothers and our sisters, our leaders, our local people. The people that live in your community are the best people to start looking at the issues of crime prevention and can tell the best ways of how to deal with it.
And I'm glad to know that people in our part of the country are willing to take that step now in the right direction, to be able to say that we are ready to do something about things that concern us in our communities. Remember the things that happened here. Carry the message home, and when we come together next year again, we may be able to share, and hopefully we will, say that we have made a difference in our communities. Once we plant the seed, we watch it grow.
For those of you that live in the city, have the opportunity to broadcast on television as well as radio about incidents that happen around your communities, whether it's a crime wave or other incidents being broadcast. Us in the far north here have no media attention, and we are kind of sitting in darkness, that people are not aware of the problems that we have here.
Providing a voice for the concerns and issues from the North has been the challenge presented to the Justice Reform Commission. People have come to the hearings in many communities as a sign of good faith, as a sign that something could be developed, that real change might be possible. Non-Aboriginals need to understand the injustices of the past and accept that injustices continue. Every part of the justice system is open for discussion, including policing, courts, prosecutions, alternative measures, legal aid, corrections, community corrections, youth justice, community justice, and victim services. In northern Saskatchewan, Aboriginal people will continue to watch the process unfold, hopeful that a justice system that has long abandoned them can begin to make sense for them and for future generations.
The mandate is actually the whole society of Saskatchewan, and by that I mean the First Nations, the Métis, because of their unique experience with the justice system. But if you're going to make reform, it has to be everyone in the province. That's the only way, I believe anyway, the reform will take a foothold and actually happen. My own people, they have to come to the table not only with solutions but responsibility in carrying out those solutions, so that the general public of Saskatchewan also comes in. It can't just be one expectation on one particular group to solve the issue. It's going to take everybody's contribution. And I like to see it almost as a partnership, where we have First Nations and Métis community along with the non-Aboriginal community forming a partnership to really look at the situation and both agree, yes, we need to do something about it, here's what we're going to do about it, and go about actively doing it. Nstam ai meitaman magego mustasego hemats tuskean hemats wipingeak ipapamuhtaak en tohtoaak totemnog ektego tahkaiwa agigon tatuapahtin kohko maja atuske ona ja ahpuitko tehnikan mihchetto witsihko mihchetto assaka pu tussimno ka puitko takak eukun kan epaksem kauja ketko esti tanaka teemaja kengeton ta minusta kikoi kuesksu ujotakoi matstike kai kuntakamuska tsihistike eksaja tapu aimana tuske on maga eki tapu paksem kauja ke TP-moja kueskan möökuta kui tutami kiwet nohkutsa assak kiwet nohkutsa kehteek kiwet nohkutsa sinuag u tehnikan tami uppaike kanma maatsihun